Hey there, this is going to be a review for our Old School Essentials Ravenloft Adventure, Touch of Death. This was session number 2. We had all 3 players back. We had Melora and Brunor and Sir Roland Lambert. Just a little recap. We know that we're in the land of Har Akir, which is a desert area in the Ravenloft setting. We were with the Vistani wagon and we're traveling through the night, resting during the day. And we have 4 days until the Night of Thoth, although we have no idea really what that is. We're resting during the day, and while we're resting, we are attacked. And this is pretty much how we start off. We had a really good recap done by Matt, the game master, and but then we started off right out of the gate, pretty much almost getting attacked. And what happened was all these hands, these undead hands, started coming up out of the sand, trying to drag people down. That causes us to roll some horror checks. They're actually grabbing the horses too, so that's not good. Brunor and Sir Roland, they passed their horror checks, but Melora failed. She was stunned for like 3 rounds. Thankfully, though, Brunor is a cleric, and he's able to turn the undead, which drives them off away from us, but not before one of the brothers, the Vistani brothers, Enrico, is lost. Like, he is taken by the undead, pulled down into the sands. During the battle, which lasted a little bit longer than how I just described it, we saw in the distance on a dune this white-robed figure. It was wearing like these tattered robes, and it was just watching us. And after the battle, we realized that all of us saw it, and we went over to investigate, but there was no signs of it. We return and to the campsite, and we wait out the rest of the day, and we move on that night. We're trying to reach the village of Muhar, but we really have no idea how far away it is. But traveling through the night, we do start to come to like a stone road, which we follow, and it does ultimately lead us into the village of Muhar, which was great because they had an oasis. There's buildings and there's people there, and they see us. And as we're coming in, there's other people coming in behind us, and they look like outsiders too. So other people probably pulled in from the mists. We did interact with them a little bit, or some of the characters did. I don't know specifically my character did, but was more concerned about getting to where the water was. There was an interesting thing at the oasis. We drank from it, and we were trying to like fill up our skins and stuff, and then a man came down and told us it was forbidden to take water from the oasis. We couldn't take it. So obviously, not wanting to ruffle any feathers, we don't. We follow their rules. But when we drink from the water, we're 100% like refreshed, like not even hungry. Like, it completely refreshes us. So that was interesting. We secure some lodgings and basically rest for the night. We did interact with a young boy, this boy named Abu, who seems to be a local, likely an orphan. I haven't really got into it with him yet, but because he pretty much has free reign. He doesn't seem to answer to too many people, and my character kind of took him in, like, as far as like he wanted to help us a lot. So like, and he was very fast because we're outsiders, and he's very fascinated. He's probably like 11 years old. So my character, being a knight, is looking upon him as maybe as a potential squire or something. So he is, has him taking care of his armor and fetching things for him, and paying for it and stuff. But yeah, so he's become more. He's not part of the party, but like he is more of a NP. Trying to think of the word. More of a often used, I guess, NPC. Like, he was in and out the whole session, helping us, guiding us around Muhar. We did talk to some of the other outsiders. There was a half-elf named Seafro, and we learned, was actually from, she was familiar with Eversky, wherever Melora is from. So they're from, basically we learned that they're from the same world. And then there was a man named Harkham, and we found out that he was from a place called Ansalon, which characters have no idea, but players know that's the Dragonlance world. So that's kind of the neat thing. One of the really neat things about Ravenloft is you can start to pull in different characters from all different, of the gaming worlds, with maybe a couple exceptions. But yeah, then we go to the local inn. I put Abu to work maintaining my gear, and we rest for the night. So we're into like day 4 of our journey, but it's day 2 of the Night of Thoth. So we have like 2 more nights before the Night of Thoth, whatever that is going to come to pass. Dulcime, the Vistani woman from the caravan, she invites us to a wake for Enrico. I mean, her and her brothers are devastated at the loss of their brother, and we agree to attend, and that's happening later. From Abu, we learn that there is a big building that we see in Muhar, and it's a temple of Ankh-Tapat, the king of the desert. So we think that we probably ought to go there at some point. We also learned from Abu that people have been going missing from the village. There's been some recent attacks, and people are disappearing. After that, we do get Abu. He leads us through Muhar. We actually stop and buy some local garb, which helps us blend in a little bit better, and it's also way cooler than the stuff that we're wearing. I picture my character probably wearing, like, from England, he was probably wearing like wool and stuff like that, so he was roasting even outside of not wearing his armor most of the time. During the day, it's so hot. Like my character, even though he's a knight, none of us wear our armor. My character keeps his belt with his weapons. He has a long sword and a mace, and he keeps his shield with him, so he has some sort of armor. But during the day, we do not travel around in our armor, because you will pass out from heat stroke rather quickly, which we learned earlier. We go to the temple after we've bought our clothes, and we meet with the priestess Isu, probably butchering some of these names. And this is a pretty big temple. It's got Ra, the sun god, and statues of Ra, the sun god, who he's got the head of a hawk. Statues of Ankh-Tapat, the lost pharaoh of Harakir, which is pretty cool. There was a lot of information here for the setting and who's who in the zoo. We talk to her and we tell her like what's happened to us and what we've come across in our travels. And when we mentioned the figure on the dunes, she says that was likely a mummy. And that happens. We also learned that Ankh-Tapat was once the ruler of Har Akir, and when the sun left the sky, like there was this curse. Like he wanted to think. I think the way Matt explained it is he wanted to live forever, or she explained it to us that he wanted to live forever and was cursed by the gods, and his touch became death, and he killed like his family and followers and all this stuff, and he was eventually killed by his own priests. So yeah, and we also learn about, which is likely where he can be found, or what we're looking for can be found, is in this thing called the Valley of the Pharaohs. There's a temple, yeah, and it's the resting place of Ankh-Tapat. So we're like, well, we probably should go there. It's like the priestess tells us it's about 3 miles or so from the village. So, and she offers us lodgings at the temple, which, being a knight, a holy knight, and we have a cleric, we all decide that that's probably a better place to stay. So we stay there. She brings us actually to the roof of the temple, and it's like this map, and it was right out of Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's all these, it was like a map, and a lot of it was areas that are no longer, I guess, in Harakir from whatever happened. So but there's a map of them and on the roof, and she shows us that. we can also see like the statues that are outside the temple are so big we can see the back sides of them, and one of them has the statue of Ra on the back of its head is engraved with 6 stars, and we know from Dulcame that the number 6 is important in some fashion. But we're kind of running out of time in game, so we rush off to meet with Dulcome so we can attend her the wake for Enrico. And while we're at the wake, we get attacked again. And again, there's zombies coming up out of the sand, trying to pull us down and popping completely out of the sand. 2 of the brothers fail their fear checks. Dulcome fails her and just completely passes out. So the battle's not really good. We also see in the distance a lone figure standing watching the battle, the same one we'd seen before. At least that's what we're assuming. And 2 of the mummies actually grab the unconscious Dulcome and start dragging her off towards there. This was pretty tough fight because we were getting grabbed and fighting zombies that weren't out of the that were all the way out of the ground. My character obviously we all want to try to save her, and my character was the closest to try to do it. He tried to reach there, but there was just between us and her there was just like this sea of like hands and arms coming up out of the sand grabbing at you. So we weren't able to do that even with Bruno turning undead. One of the things we learned mechanically when he was trying to turn undead, that it was harder for him to do it than normal. So above board in Ravenloft, you, like a cleric in Ravenloft, from another world, like he's from Taldore, he's gonna turn undead as if he was 2 levels lower than he actually is. So what that meant was obviously it was harder for him to turn undead, but what it also meant is my character, who's a paladin, and in Old School Essentials, a 4th level paladin, he can turn undead. But because we're in Ravenloft, I'm actually 2 levels lower in that regard. So my paladin cannot even turn undead. So he's got to gain. I got to gain a level, and then I can start to do it. I can do it, but so I couldn't like get through all of the undead between me and the mummy, and then ultimately the zombies reached with Dulcome. They reach the mummy, and the mummy just tosses her over its shoulder and then disappears over the dunes. But when that does happen, the rest of the zombies kind of go away. So the battle ends. I do have in my notes here. I'm going through my notes. Matt, who was running our game, he was on fire. He was rolling nat 20s left and right. I got that in my notes. He's got like at least 3, and I may have missed another one. So he probably had like 4 nat 20s. Like he's pretty good at rolling those, which is not good when he's the game master. There's some horror checks. Oh, one of the zombies that came back that we were fighting was actually, my character recognized as Enrico, and my character killed him. I cut his head off, putting him hopefully finally to rest for good. But yeah, one of the other things we noted about the zombie is that they have no smell. We think it's because they're just so dry, like there is no, if you're used to zombies in other, in other genres or even, game settings, and they're all, mush, they're a mess. These are not. All the moisture is sucked out of these zombies, so that their skin is like paper thin and just like layered over the bone. And so they have no smell, which was interesting to note. But yeah, we ended the session. Dulcome was taken, and we're assuming that they're headed towards the Valley of the Pharaohs, which is where we'll be heading in the next session, which is hopefully this coming week. So yeah, that was session number 2. Really, I had a great conversation with my son on the way home. I've always been a big fan of Ravenloft and never played it when I was younger. Collected a bunch of the stuff, starting with 3rd edition, some 2nd edition stuff. I have some really great 2nd edition books. The Van Richten guide, compilation guides. It's one of my favorite gaming books that I own. So it's really cool though. Matt is an old school Ravenloft player. He ran Ravenloft and probably played in it too, but I know he ran it when he was younger. So it's really cool for all of us, and we all share this sentiment to be able to go back and now play these older modules. Like this is the second edition module, Touch of Death, that we're playing. Really cool to do that. And OSE is so far proving to be a really good system for this. We had used I had mentioned, I think in a previous video, we had used Castles and Crusades for our other adventure that in Ravenloft that Matt ran for us, and it didn't really work that well because of the way they do their saves. It was nigh impossible for us to make fear or horror checks, which are punishing in, or they can be punishing in Ravenloft. I mean, they have a consequence, which is, I'm fine with, but the way the system was, we were not set up to pass those. So OSE is proving, and we're all in agreement actually, because that was discussed in our group. OSE is, I think, a much better system for what we're doing, especially running these old. It's so much easier to convert. And above board, there was even some talk about. I have a really big, decent sized collection of old Dark Sun stuff. So, and I've never used it, just collected it. So maybe down the road we might see some OSE Dark Sun being run. That would be a lot of fun too. So, and the guys would already said they were into it. So, yeah. Before I ramble on too long, that was session number 2. Like I said, session number 3 should be this coming Thursday, and we'll see how we make out. I appreciate you all watching, and I'll catch you at the next one.